live from Ibiza for another edition of Café Diem on Wednesday, the 9th of September, with my special guest, Ms. Sheila Falconer. She's a passionate cook, a walker, a hiker, and a world traveler. And we have been to some of the same countries together. And when I was going to Japan, she was the first person on the island who I went over and looked at her photos. So Sheila, welcome to the cafe.
Thank you.
To the cafe in our living rooms. How are we today, Sheila?
We're really well. Really
good.
Yes.
I like that. You have your coffee?
I have my coffee in my favorite mug.
Good. I like it with a little heart. That's another thing that we bonded over as well, as we both like coffee. So I'm very, very happy to have you on Café Diem in our respective living rooms in Ibiza. You sort of more the center of the island and myself in Santa Eulalia. And for people who don't know, Sheila is known for her short and sweet walks with Walking Ibiza. So every Wednesday morning or Wednesday evening, as you've been doing in the summer. And I think as of today, or still another evening one today, Sheila?
Today is the last evening one.
Okay.
Yes.
And what makes your Sheila Short and Sweets so special, Sheila? Tell the viewers, what is it? Tell me.
Okay, so when I first came to the island, and Toby was already doing walks, and I used to join all the walks, and I, because I really love walking. I've been walking for many years, and he said to me, he used to do quite long walks. His walks are maybe 3 or 4 hours, and a lot of people were asking him and saying, could you do something shorter? I haven't got all day to walk. I really love walking, but, a couple of hours would be enough. So he approached me and he said, would you be interested in guiding some short walks? And I thought, oh my God, I've never done anything like that in my life. I've walked a lot. I've done a lot. But I used to belong to a walking group in England called the Mid-Surrey Ramblers. And every Sunday I used to walk in the hills, really quite challenging, but great fun and lovely group of people. And the thing was that at the end of every walk, the person who was guiding the walk, and it was always somebody different every week, used to have to provide homemade cake and coffee and tea from the boot of their car. So I said this to Toby and I said, why don't we give that a go? So we did, and that's how the short and sweet walks were born. Because I used to bake, I still do. I bake cakes every Wednesday and take them along, and we enjoy them at the end of the walk. It's a really nice time for a bit of social interaction. So
it's incredible, and I've only been on a couple. Especially if I bring my mom over, it's definitely we need to go on a Sheila Short and Sweet. But because of Café Diem, every Wednesday, I don't really get a chance to go on them. So I really appreciate you taking the time to come and visit us, Sheila. As well as I wanted to say that you're known for your short and sweets, but you're also known for being the wisest woman to actually circumnavigate the whole island of Ibiza, which is a pretty good badge. So you can dust your shoulders off for that. And we'll get into that conversation as well. So for everybody watching the video, I just want you to know what we're going to discuss today. We're going to start with coffee. We're going to talk about Ibiza in the 70s. So Sheila was actually here in the 70s and also is now in her 70s. So I'm quite looking forward to talking about that history as well. And we're also going to talk about how you stay mobile, what you do in your spare time to give you purpose and community as well, Sheila. So I hope you're ready with your coffee, everybody, and we're gonna start. And what we're gonna start with is my number one question that I ask all my guests, Sheila. What is brewing? So what's in your cup today, Sheila?
Okay, so in my cup here is a cup of black coffee. That's how I like my coffee. I'm usually very lucky because my eldest son Justin has a coffee empire in Dubai, where he's lived with his family for the last 10 or 11 years. And I'm usually very lucky because he supplies me with the coffee beans. I'm a coffee grinding person. I grind fresh coffee every day from beans. That's my thing.
I didn't know that. That's incredible. That's what we do as well. Wow. I love you even more, Sheila.
Oh. Well, he usually supplies me with lovely big 5 kilo bags of his brand, which is ORBIS.COFFEE, ORBIS Foods. But unfortunately, we usually manage somehow, even though he lives in Dubai, we manage to sort of cross paths maybe twice a year. And every time he brings me, lovely coffee beans, which he sources from all over the world, always organic. But unfortunately, this year, I've run out of his coffee.
No.
So so no coffee beans from Orbis, I'm afraid. However, he's going to hate me for this.
Oh no, Sheila, you didn't. You brought cafes to Ibiza to Café Diem. How are you getting on with that one though? There must be a huge difference for you though, from Justin's to that. You must notice a difference, no?
There is, but I actually I've tried quite a few, and this is the one that I prefer. And I also like the fact that it's an Ibiza business, if you like.
It's local.
And that started off in 1958. So it was the very first proper coffee that was brought to Ibiza. So. And I like the taste.
Okay, interesting. Oh man, I can always tell when I have a Cafés de Ibiza coffee when I go to a coffee shop. My partner and I, we call it the pinger. So it's like it's like not a very smooth, for me anyways, not a very smooth ride up the caffeine hill there. So cool. Okay. So you brought Cafés de Ibiza to the Café Diem. I like it. Good. I'm interested in knowing more about Justin's empire though. So, we're not going to speak for 30 minutes on coffee, but when we see each other, I want to try it as well. So next time you guys get together, you'll have to get me a little bag of beans as well, because I love the fact that you grind your beans. I didn't realize that. So you've been out of it for a little while, I guess, hey?
I've been out of it
I've been out of his coffee for a little while.
I'm afraid so.
Yeah, yes, what a shame. Yes. Well, I can.
These coffee beans, so I still grind every
day. I can recommend. They're called Audio Mogul. And they make coffee and they do cacao and they do basically music production on the island. And they have a fantastic coffee, 3 different coffees as well. But again, they're not shipping to Ibiza. They're only shipping to England. So yeah, we're a little bit stuck right now, aren't we, with everything that's going on in our in the world. So
it's a bit tough.
Yeah, it is a bit tough. Well, we got coffee. That's what matters. So there are good opportunities to have coffee on the island. So I know the answer to this, but I want you to tell me, if you were to go for a coffee out on the island, you can go anywhere on the island, where would you go, Sheila?
Okay, my favorite go-to place is Café Diem, because Claudia, she knows exactly how I like my coffee, because I don't like a whole mug of coffee. I only like a small coffee, so I always ask for an Americano. Okay. And even in Spain, the Americano is really small and really quite strong. So she always gives it to me with a little bit of hot water on the side.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah. So she knows, her name is Claudia. Is she the owner? Okay. She's a wonderful woman, isn't she?
And they're lovely.
They're lovely. And they do make a really nice iced coffee as well. Yes. So I've been really enjoying those over the summer as well. So yeah, we'll definitely have to get it's, and actually in a sense, I'm not sure, is she French, Sheila, or do you know where Claudia is from?
No, she comes from, I think, Guatemala.
Okay. Because the cafe is kind of like a Parisian style, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I do find that they're probably one of the cafes in Saint Eulalia that really reminds me of Amsterdam, like an Amsterdam coffee shop. Just when you go inside, it's all cozy and it's like just, yeah. So I don't know if that would offend her or she'd like that. But yeah, I do like theirs as well. So Caffeine, as a cute name as well.
Yes. Yeah. And they're a lovely couple. Yeah.
Super. Awesome. Okay. So from coffee, we're going to move on. I'm going to ask you, Sheila, to spill the beans, literally, because you could spill some beans for us today. And I want to know how Ibiza was in the 70s and how did you end up in Ibiza in the 70s?
Okay, so
take us back. Well, paint a picture.
Take us back. Okay, well, I'm going to take you back to 1969.
Yes.
And like a lot of people, our first introduction to Ibiza was on a family holiday. Justin was born then, Toby wasn't. And we came here on holiday. But the thing is that we actually knew some people who were already living here. They were friends from England. They were already living here. And they had 2 young boys. So while we were on holiday here, we visited them a few times and spent a bit of time with them. And gradually we got to realize what a wonderful environment this would be for bringing up children. It was really relaxed. It was quite quiet. You know, there was tourism here, but it hadn't hit in such a big way. The countryside, the beautiful beaches, the people were really lovely. And so, so that was the year that we made the decision to come and live here, just from nothing. And in those days, it was a very adventurous thing to do, you know, to come, you know, to leave everything, because we hadn't been married all that long. And we'd already had a house which we'd renovated. And, you know, and we were just going to leave all that behind. So we did. That's exactly what we did. We bought a rusty old camper van. And we packed it all up with everything we thought we would need. We rented out our house in Shepperton in Surrey, as it was then, and we literally set off with Justin with a load of nappies in the back, and we travelled all the way across France and Spain, and finally arrived in Ibiza. And in typical Ibiza fashion, it still happens today. The job that Eric, my husband, was promised had fallen through before we'd even left. So we arrived here with nothing, so, apart from a few boxes of stuff. So and yes, how was it then? It was. I think you were left very much to your own devices. You know, entertainment was mingling with friends. We did a lot of entertaining then. You know, we met other families through school. I didn't actually do any walking, nothing like I do today. It's because you know, with two little children, and I know there are a lot of mums out there who feel the same. It just isn't that easy, you know, to leave them and just go off walking. So, and it wasn't really in my head at that time. That didn't come till much later. So yes, and everything, you know, everything was very different. And maybe just touching a little bit on the food side of things was that you know, there was no ready meals or processed food here. So you had to buy everything from the vegetable shops. You know, you do that, and then you go somewhere else and get the meat, and somewhere else for the fish and that sort of thing. No supermarkets with everything. And I think that's how my beginning of my really sort of healthy eating came in, without me realizing it, because you had to cook everything from scratch. You know, there was no, you know, you didn't have tins to open or packets or even much selection of frozen food. So that was, you know, what it was like.
Did you notice a big difference from England to coming here, though? Like you say, because I guess at that point as well, England must have been really into that processed food movement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah. So kind of forced in a way. I actually still feel that some of our supermarkets don't have everything you need, and I still feel like I have to go all around the island to find things as well.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah. So,
very true. Yes.
But from 1969. The good old days. To how long did you spend before? I remember speaking with Toby on Café Diem, and him saying that he was pulled back to England kicking and screaming. So after having, you know, like a really lovely upbringing, I think, was he 10 maybe when you went back?
He was 9.
He was 9. So spent some time here, and then why did you leave? Why?
Well, we had a really great life here, and I absolutely loved it and really embraced it. Things were very tough to start with, but gradually they got a lot better. And when we arrived in the May 1970 in our rusty camper van, and Toby was born in the September. And then as they grew up, obviously the issue of schooling came up. We found a really nice nursery school for them. They were both very happy there. And then they went on to Morna Valley School, as it was called then. It's now Morna College. And I think even Toby would joke about it. It was a little bit of a hippie school. It's changed enormously now, and I know it's a very respected college in Santa Gertrudis. But then as time went on, I was just beginning to feel a little bit almost ready to go back, if you like. Okay. And I was also very concerned that the schooling wasn't going to give them enough. So I did take them back to England, and they went to as you say, not normal schools, where gradually they got a better education. And although they did not like it, and I can quite understand that, I do think that it's given them the tools to become who they are today. And I think even they would admit that now.
Of course. And I mean, one of them has ended up back on the island again anyway. So
yes, yeah. It's really nice.
Yeah, excellent. So when you went back to England, though, did you notice again a big difference? And you're like, I miss that lifestyle. That was it really free loving and hippie and what everybody paints it out to be, and everything that we've seen about Ibiza in the 70s? And were you involved in that, or were you more like family life, or what was it? Do you remember? Can you take us back a little bit?
I have to say probably mostly family life. Yeah. But we had some, terrific friends who had children, and, we used to mix with them a lot. And I said, it was really up to you to make your own entertainment. We also had very easy access to go skiing, because we could just, get on the boat with the car and go skiing in Andorra, which we used to do a lot. Mm-hmm. And as for here, yes, it was really, really hippie. With the markets, for instance, in the market in Escanar, I used to go there and sell my brownies all that time ago. But it was nothing like it was today. You would literally just put a blanket on the ground and sit down there with whatever you got to sell, and the kids would be wandering around. And I think that's one thing. Another thing, that it was such a safe place to be. I think that's something that both Justin and Toby would say, is that there was never any fear or worry about the children going off for the morning to play up in the hills or whatever. It was just a totally safe environment, and just the freedom, for them to explore and do all the things that the children maybe miss out on a bit here. But then there were a lot of very well-known people. It was very much a haven for like artists, actors, film stars. So, we would go to what's Sandy's bar in Sant Eulalia, and, you'd be rubbing shoulders with somebody famous, but nobody really took any notice. It was in a very relaxed way. So
very cool. So, I like it. It's very special that we have somebody who can relive some of the beautiful days of Ibiza in the 70s, for sure. In her 70s now as well, which I like. Yeah. So going from Ibiza and Ibiza back to England and then back to Ibiza. Now, Sheila, what I would really like to get into with you is how you managed, because I don't even know if I could do it, to circumnavigate the whole island of Ibiza in your 70s, or at 70, right?
Yes.
What kind of prep did it take you? You weren't preparing the food on that one, I imagine. No. You weren't walking and cooking at the same time. For people who don't know, when Walking Ibiza does the whole island tour, Sheila is actually the one who's kind of looking after the nutrition side of it as well. So tell me about that, because not everybody, hardly anybody, and a lot of people that would be watching from England or places would just not be able to do that, wouldn't be mobile enough, just that sort of thing. What was that like, and how did you prepare, Sheila? How did you feel after?
Okay, so I started serious walking not until I was in my 30s, but I loved it. I used to do it in England. I would do it all the time. And then when I came here and I was preparing the food, as you say, for around the island for quite a few times, thinking I can't do this, I could never do that. And then one time when we were having the celebration meal at the end of the walk, I just knew, something came to me and said, I can do this. Mm-hmm. You can do, whatever you set your mind to, really. Mm-hmm. And I was already fairly fit from doing the walk. So how did I prepare? Okay, so I went on every single long walk of Toby's every Friday. And then he did a test walk of 25K to get us really prepared. And I did that as well. Wow. But I did really prepare. I have to say that I just walked, and I did the tough walks and whatever, just to get my stamina up. But I am very lucky. I do have a lot of stamina, and I was already quite fit. Mm-hmm. And then, yes, hey ho, then it was time to set off. And you're thinking, and of course, you've got the backpack with all the stuff, and you're thinking, am I going to do this? And the thing is, it's okay to practice, let's say once a week on a really difficult hike. Mm-hmm. It's quite something else to be walking day after day after day, with no break and no let up. So yes, it was tough. I wouldn't pretend that it wasn't. It was tough. Some days easier than others. Some days were, very long, others a bit shorter. And then there's all the camping stuff as well, isn't there? So you have to, you've got to, not only do you walk all day, but when you get to the campsite, there isn't the luxury of having your tent already pitched. You've got to do that yourself, and get it right. Otherwise, you'll get very wet or very uncomfortable. Mm. And how did it feel at the end? Very, very emotional for me. Mm. Really, I just could not believe that I had achieved such an amazing thing. It was for many people, it's a life-changing experience. For me, it was, but I also learned a lot about myself, and so I feel very proud that I've accomplished it, I have to say.
100%. And for people who don't know, it's 258 kilometers and it's across 11 days. So some serious walking Ibiza for sure. Yeah. And imagine you must have had to have a few conversations with yourself to be like, okay, we can do it. Let's go. Right. Yes. Like everybody, the moral support that you must feel from do you remember how many people were in your group, Sheila?
We were actually a small group. There were just 5 of us, and we were all ladies. So
incredible! And who was it? Toby leading, or was it Simon? Or
they shared it.
Okay,
they did.
So Toby and Simon with the ladies. I like it. Wow, that's incredible. My God, the bond that you must have had with everybody after.
Yeah. Yes, it was. That's the one thing I think that is the amazing thing about the walking around the island.
Yeah, it's incredible. Okay, if you were to give one piece of advice to somebody who was considering to do it next year, what piece of advice would you give them?
I would say do it.
Do it.
But do it. You can do it. You set your mind to it. I think, you can do it. But I would say do some training.
Yeah, of course.
Even if it's in a gym or whatever. But the best thing is to get out there and practice on some of those hills.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do believe there will be a few next year because we've missed them this year, right? So Toby will just be constantly walking around Ibiza, picking people up as he walks by, right? Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Excellent. Now I want to talk about your hobbies in your spare time, Sheila. So what are you doing to stay so youthful, to have so much vitality, to be so mobile? What are you doing? Maybe you're not even aware of what you're doing, but if you think back, what is it? What's keeping you so full of vitality, let's say?
I think it's probably partly a mindset. Mm-hmm. I think I actually start every day with a short qigong practice.
Okay.
And it's like setting my mind for the day, if you like. So it's very calming routine to do. Mm-hmm. And that's the time in the morning that I would set my intentions, and always remember to be grateful and really thankful for the life that I've got here. I have an amazing life here. I have a beautiful place to live. I have a lovely garden, which takes up a lot of my time when I'm not walking. Mm-hmm. And I think it just sets the tone for the day, if you like. So I think that's a good start to the day. Mm-hmm. I think we talked before that it's so important, I think, to have a purpose and a focus in your life. Mm-hmm. And I am lucky because I have a lot of my family are here, mm-hmm. but they're also scattered all over the world as well. Mm-hmm. But I'm constantly in touch with them. Thank goodness for WhatsApp and Skype and even Zoom. It's but it's so important, I think, to keep in touch, and so important to have your family around you. And I said, when I'm not walking, I've got a very large garden, but I love doing it. So it's not a chore for me to do it. Mm-hmm. And I've also been just trying to, in these really difficult times, to give something back to the island.
Mm-hmm.
You know, realizing how lucky I am. You know, I have food on my table. I can, you know, share my house and share my garden and things like that. But there are so many people here due to the, you know, the COVID, the epidemic, that, you know, have lost their jobs and therefore don't have any money at all. Mm-hmm. So recently I started volunteering for Ibiza Food Bank. Mm-hmm. So I stand outside Uroski one morning a week. Mm-hmm. Or evening sometimes, and I just encourage people to buy something extra when they're doing their shopping, and put it in the trolley, which is then distributed. You wouldn't believe it, but there are 2,000 families here that don't have enough to eat. Because we always say, I always just say, there's two sides to Ibiza. There's the nature side, which we're lucky enough to experience all the time, mm-hmm. and then there's, you know, the clubbing and the party scene, which is nice to dip into from time to time. Mm-hmm. But believe me, there is a third side to Ibiza that I think very, very few people know about. So I'm very happy to be able to make a tiny, tiny contribution, and hopefully making their lives a bit happier. But it's also, again, it's a purpose. It's something else to, you know, to plan your week around, you know, and to, I just think that is so important.
100%. And if people want to support, how would they would get in touch, or like you say, just buying some extra product, or how can people support what you're doing? What is it? Just Ibiza Food Bank?
Well, it's Ibiza Food Bank, okay. But there are actually 3 banks, but we all collaborate with each other, as well as the Red Cross and Caritas here on Ibiza. Okay. They're desperate for volunteers, because from this week onwards, we're now covering the supermarkets every morning and every afternoon. It just used to be the weekends. They're desperate for volunteers. Okay. And the thing is that if you do see a trolley outside the supermarkets, please just buy even one extra thing and just put it in the trolley, and it'll make such a difference.
Yeah, I like that, Sheila. I love that. And that's why I wanted to have you on, because I know you have, like I say, connection, community, purpose. Your garden, when you're in your garden, you're getting lovely vitamin D on your skin. Yeah. And you are, for sure, you're an inspiration to a lot of people on this island, a lot of people that will be watching this, and a lot of people, like I say, the generations that will be watching this back can only aspire to be as youthful and giving as you are, Sheila. So
thank you.
I'm really, 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 really happy that you chose to be a guest on Café Diem. And I'm really happy that I can call you a friend. You're an inspiration, Sheila. I get some tears here. And I know my mom watching back as well. She follows a lot of the same similar things. So volunteering, spending time in the garden, you know, having connection and purpose. It's so important as we get older. And for people that might be feeling a little bit less than, or that they're not enough, or they can't do this, or they could never walk on the island, or never do a Toby hike. Like, it's, you know, you just have to get up and do it, right? Like you say, your number one advice is just do it. And you're not alone. And if anybody needs any support, again, from then you can reach out. There's a really good community in Ibiza, and I really hope that everybody watching has a really good community around them as well, because it's so important right now. Very, very important. Yeah. So, absolutely. Yeah. So you've told us your why. You've been very clear about your purpose, Sheila. And we've come to our half an hour, if you can believe it. It is what happens really quickly with Café Diem. You're having a chat over a coffee, which is a good segue to talk about next week's guest. So you know next week's guest quite well. She's part of the family as well. So part of the Walking Ibiza family, another woman who's also circumnavigated the island. She has a strong purpose, and she has a strong connection with the island and the community as well. It's going to be YOULE from the Reset Rebel. And I'm really looking forward to having her on as well. I'm pretty sure we'll get emotional on that as well. So for those who don't know, the Reset Rebel is an Ibiza wellness podcast and platform, and as well they give back to the island as well. So for every podcast that she does, she has something that she gives back to her listeners and the community and the island. So I've been given back something from one of her podcasts, which I'm looking forward to receiving next week with one of the island's breathwork facilitators. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm just looking really forward to having Jo on next week as well. She's also a Vinyasa flow teacher. And one of our connections, Jo and I, is the fact that she loves music. So all of her classes are really focused around beautiful music. We've been dancing together as well. So it's going to be exciting to have Jo on next week, which is the 16th of September. So Wellbeing Wednesday. And again, at 9:00 in the morning. So I urge everybody to watch us then. If you don't make it onto the Facebook Live, you can always watch us back on YouTube. Now, if you're looking to get a hold of Sheila doesn't have Instagram, uses Facebook personally. But if you want to join one of her short and sweet walks, which you can do today, you can go on to the Walking Ibiza website, which is walkingibiza.com. You can also find them on Instagram and Facebook as well if you want to get involved in one of Sheila's short and sweets. In fact, could I ask, what did you bake today, Sheila?
No, it's the last one of the evening. In the evenings, it's always wine. We used to do nibbles, but we can't do that. So as it's the last one, I'm going to take a bottle of cava.
Ooh! So a bottle of cava this evening, and then next week she goes back to baking some incredible, delectable delights. And was very fortunate to have your brownies on Toby's birthday last week as well.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So again, if you want to get a hold of Sheila, you can go on a walk with her, no problem. And again, as she said, they're looking for volunteers for the Ibiza Food Bank. So that could be something of interest as well if you're looking to give back to the island. So I want to thank you, Sheila. So brewed in Ibiza out of a love for black coffee, early mornings and well-being. This is Café Diem Ibiza. Signing out for another Wednesday. If you're looking to get a hold of Café Diem, you can find us on Instagram, SoundCloud, and Facebook on Café Diem Ibiza. Of course, YouTube, which you're watching back on now. We would love for you to subscribe to the channel. It is no skin off your back if you just press subscribe with my subscribe list with my, again, honoring my imperfections this week as well. I don't want to have to wear my little denture thing. So I'm just going to go for my little imperfection. And of course, just to reiterate for people who don't know who I am a qualified and practicing fitness and nutrition coach. So I do one-on-one and I also do online. And I am doing a new thing for autumn. So it's autumn, kick up your arse. So for people who maybe have been little overindulgent for summer, that sort of thing. And if you're looking to potentially, I don't want to say transform because that's not what I do. I support you in making healthier lifestyle decisions and creating habits that you are going to use for a lifelong session. So it's not just something that, you're not just going to come in and get beasted. You are going to put it all together and make sure that for the rest of your life, all of the habits, nutrition and fitness will be something that will be within you and make movement like Sheila has a habit and something enjoyable. So whether it's walking, whether it's being in the gym, whether it's dancing, find movement that is important to you and do that. Because right now, more than ever, we need to be moving our bodies. We need to be honoring our health. So Sheila was like I say, the epitome of that. And I'm really pleased that you decided to be guest 18, Sheila. And so you can get a hold of me either on Unconditional Love Fitness on Facebook and Instagram, or else you can send me an email and we can do a complimentary health evaluation to see where you're at right now. And I know if I was to do that with Sheila, she'd be ticking all the good boxes. So Sheila, thank you so much for being a guest on Café Diem.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate it. And we will see everybody next week for Joe Yule, or we'll find you on social media. Come say hello. And that is us saying adios from Ibiza.